I'm Dr. Y, the retirement practitioner, and today we are going to talk about numbers, as in digits, as in, 1 to 9, basically, and the other numbers. So, the prominent numbers here will be 50, 5, and 55. Well, now we should be precise, but let's talk in no particular order about the significance of numbers, and these numbers in particular. No matter what investment subject is being discussed, the first question that every investor normally has, predictably, in his or her mind is, what is this guy selling, really? So we are constantly being sold on something, on a product, on a concept, on personality, on morality, on conspiracy, on your version of reality, and so on and so forth. So what are we selling here? Well, in some way we are selling the idea of knowing what you're doing. If you came here looking for income and for yield, there's one thing is just to chase the sweetest offer and the most juicy yield that is being dangled in front of you. But if you really don't understand how these numbers are produced and if it's sustainable, then basically you like the sales pitch. So my sales pitch is really very simple. Know your numbers, do your homework, understand what you're doing. No matter what it is, you have to master the concept. And the best way to master the concept is actually follow the money, which means understand the numbers. So, as I said, in a school of investing with O'Shaughnessy, the author of the book What Works on Wall Street, 50 is the number of names in any investment portfolio that he likes to use to diversify things. 50 is also a number from which most people start thinking about retirement. 50% is also the number of mediocrity. Basically, if you're mediocre, 50% of people are better than you, and 50% are actually regretfully worse than you. Right? So you're right in the middle. The index that I created, that arbitrages closed-end funds without me having to think, which is automated investment strategy and which was published 3 years ago and backtested for 20 years ago, is called Top 50 Yield and Discount North American Index. So 50 seems to be present everywhere. 5 is my favorite number, not just because I was born on the 5th of May, or aiming for 5-star reviews as far as our, services, as our marketing, as our media, and basically advertising agency. No, not because of that. Not because we only have 5 fingers and most animals have 5 digits. There's not too many with 6. It just happens to be the amount of time you have to ask question why before you get to the root of the matter. And as I said, we're going to be talking hard, cold facts and numbers. And if something doesn't become clear, you have to ask why 5 times. Not me. The method was implemented by Toyota Corporation and the founder of it, same name, Toyota. And we're going to be asking a lot of whys. There will be questions that we will ask 50 of the questions, and each of them can be followed up with up to 5 whys. If you think it's an overkill, you're probably right. But on the other hand, I think that it's absolutely necessary if you really want to know the person fast. And for an advisor, to know the client fast is important, and the same goes the other way. For the client, it is important to understand the advisor. And because I'm a big believer into leading by example, I will subject myself to the same 50 questions that I think it's important for you advisors and investors to ask each other, to have what I call a meeting of minds. So without further ado, 50 questions for myself. 10 of them will be on the subject of finance, and each of them can be followed up by a question, why? I'm not suggesting we do it 5 times, but you understand my point. Whenever the question seems to defy the law of, not gravity, the laws of logic, you can ask why, and maybe we'll come to something. So, ready, set, go. Question number 1. What is your main characteristic? Curiosity. And I think there's irony in that my last name actually means a cat. I'm a cat, and cats are curious and independent. But, number 2, what quality do you most like in a woman? Sorry, have to go gender, classic, right? So in a woman, maybe it's sounds patronizing, but I like loyalty, right? What quality do you most like in a man? Fairness. We are privileged, we are top, we are this bigger, stronger animal. Realize that you've been lucky in a sense, like Warren Buffett said, the draw of birth. So be fair. If you cannot change that you're, let's say, a white man like me, at least be fair, be conscious of what the other people have to go through if they're not. What's the value of having friends? The luxury of being open. What's your biggest shortcoming? Easy to provoke, emotional. What's your favorite occupation? Well, that's a tough one, but it has to be vets or doctors. Saving lives is amazing. I also like people who work for anything that preserves the beauty of our planet, animal world, diversity, especially if you're also underpaid and misunderstood in the process. What would you like to be? That's simple. I'd like to be me. In what country would you like to live? Honestly, I'm thinking about Brazil. My better half is from Brazil. I've been there. Love the country, love the people, love the fact that it has like the, whatever it's called, coefficient of happiness. Believe it or not, it exists, and they are generally happy people, despite not having the most material possessions. What is your favorite color? Well, I'm wearing black, which is not a color, which is the absence of it, but my favorite color is red. And appropriately so. In investing, what seems to be red is sometimes the beginning of a very successful investment idea. Favorite flower? Sunflower. Favorite bird? A falcon. Favorite prose writers? There's more than one, but I would say Leo Tolstoy. Favorite poets? Pushkin and Shakespeare. Favorite fictional heroes? You know what, the Four Musketeers, D'Artagnan, the little upstart that came and conquered Paris. An actual real-life hero. Well, you know what, Djokovic comes close, and we'll talk a lot about tennis, and I know that a lot of eyebrows will go sky high, and I don't care. I can explain later. Favorite composers? Tchaikovsky. Favorite painters? Dali. Heroes in real life. Like I said, animal rescue, people who save lives. What are your favorite names? My favorite names is anything that has D-A-N letters in it. And again, those people know who they are. What do you most dislike? Manipulation. I basically think that whatever you want other people to do, to weave a web of lies to make somebody do something, is one of the lowest forms of human interaction, basically. Human interaction is also the biggest luxury, and when you dilute that luxury with the poison of web of lies. I think it's disgusting, honestly. What historical figures you most despise? Well, here most people say Hitler. Yes, that guy. But generally speaking, any false prophet, and that includes a bunch of popes, a lot of actually religious leaders who don't really believe what they preach, really have, like, high ranking in my system of most despised stuff. What event in military history do you most admire? That's easy. It's a number, 300. Spartans. What reform do you most admire? Abolition of slavery, anywhere. I also understand that a lot of that was unfair, and fairness is my most favorite trait of a man, but no, we couldn't expect fairness there, but still. Slavery or no slavery, on any conditions, please, no slavery. What natural gift would you most like to possess? I'd like to fly. How would you like to die? Well, most people would like to die in their sleep. I'd like to die for a cause that is worth dying for. What is your present state of mind? I'm excited, guys. I'm excited because I'm curious and future is unknown, and hopefully we will actually straighten up this Titanic and somehow continue charging forward. To what faults do you feel most indulgent? Well, to be an indulgent. I overdo things. What is your motto? Who cares? That's the motto. Most time when people say they care, they don't. They're just selling you something, right? You have to care and be responsible for yourself. What is your favorite word? No. Ability to cut off all the stuff that is absolutely unnecessary, what George Carlin called stuff you don't need for the money you don't have. Just say no. What's your least favorite word? No. When you are refused for no reason other than some bullshit excuse, and again, manipulative one, then no is my least favorite word. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally? Inventiveness. What turns you off? Death. What's your favorite curse word? No shit. What sound or noise do you love? Snoring. What sound or noise do you hate? Snoring. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt? Pilot. What profession would you not like to do? Roadkill removal. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates? Well played, but go play some more. Or practice. Now, to the beginning of this thing. A short story of 40 questions. 40 questions was 20 questions which were asked at the end of every In the Actors Studio show. The host of the show actually borrowed it from a French host of a similar show whose name was Pivot. So there was a pivot, the American host did a pivot, but both of them actually borrowed the questions and the idea from French classic writer Proust. Marcel Proust answered his own questions twice, at age 13, at a mature age of 20. And I went through the questions from the Actors Studio, the questions for Bernard Pivot of French TV, and Marcel Proust, something like, decades before, picked 40 that I liked most, and that is what I was going to answer right here. And I also added 10 questions for financials. Let's talk about money. Question 1. Are you a fiduciary? Question 2. How do you get paid? Question 3. What are my all-in costs? Question 4. What are your qualifications? Question 5. How will our relationship work? Question 6. What is your investment philosophy? Question 7. What asset allocation will you use? Question 8. What investment benchmarks do you use? Question 9. Who is your custodian? And finally, question number 10. What tax hit do I face if I invest with you? Version 2, same questions. If you could solve any financial concept today by snapping your fingers, what would you solve? Well, the same problem I'm trying to solve. Build an investment income that feels like pension. In other words, comes automatically and allows you to live the rest of your life the way you want to live it and to be where you want to be. If you didn't have financial worries anymore, what would you do and how would that change the way you act? I would probably say no to nonsense more often, and I would probably spend more time playing tennis. Number 3. If you could fast forward to your ideal retirement, what would we find you doing to fill your days? Hopefully, I would just find some more ways to continue self-improving. 4. The markets have been moving around a lot lately, thus, before we get started, I would like to know how you have been handling it. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest, how calm do you feel? I'm somewhere in the area of 7 to 8. I think the situation is extremely challenging. I think that the economy that is supposed to grow forever is more or less not an accurate prediction. Therefore, I'd say 7 or 8. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, how financially organized are you feeling? I wish I was 10, but I'm probably closer to 8, 9. But that's a professional trait. Don't hold it against me. A lot has happened during the last couple of years. On a scale of 1 to 10, how doable do you feel your pre-event plan is? The event we are talking about and all the things that happened since 2019 and continue happening need all of us to reassess our plans. Stay the course and all of the slogans are no longer actually, they don't ring true. I'm not saying have plan B, I would just say have plan B 221 basically, which was Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson's apartment number, and which signifies pay attention, investigate. If plan B is warranted, have a plan B, 221B. Can you tell me how your last estate or financial planning meeting went and how do you assess it now looking back? Well, nobody does financial planning for me. I used to be a professional. My last one was as usual. You look at the person, you learn everything you need to learn about his financial circumstances, and then you voice and argue and present your honest opinion. Could you explain a bit more about your philosophy, finding ideas or plans that involve your children or grandchildren? Well, it's very simple. It's basically all about the fish, right? Instead of catching the fish for them, which hopefully there is some fishing, still continuing, but the main thing is to teach them how to catch that elusive, slippery fish. Can we discuss your tax strategies and how we can discuss the tax consequences and coordinate your investment decisions with your accountant? Yes, I do have an accountant. Everything has to be coordinated with accountant, because if your accountant just prepares your tax after everything is said and done, he is not your tax planner, he is not your tax accountant, he is your tax preparer. And that is just simply not acceptable. I have reviewed your portfolio. I wonder if you could tell me more about how your current net worth and income situation feels. It feels realistic and I'll do everything to improve it. We have discussed our goals today. Which one is most important to you, and did the review add clarity to your vision of your personal finance, yourself and your future? And hopefully the answer is the opposite of my favorite word, which is a no. So the answer to this is fully, unequivocally, yes.